Hare Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to today's class. It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 4, text 71. And we're fortunate today to have His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu from ISKCON, Philadelphia, to give the class. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila
Vancha
Prabhupada.
kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Parikshit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Then we step on the obeisances.
Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, 4th chapter, 71st verse. So we'll chant the Padma Karuna prayer before the class.
Okay.
Because Srila Prabhupada usually chanted that prayer. Does anybody know the prayer?
Well, I'm trying to pull it up at this point.
I know the prayer.
Okay.
Lord Chaitanya's appearance day was just 4 days ago, 5 days ago. And it's a good opportunity to learn prayers related to Lord Chaitanya, do our Father Chaitanya. Actually, it's a good idea to chant, and Prabhupada recommended chanting these various prayers in glorification of Lord Chaitanya written by the Acharyas. So to remember them is a good, and to memorize them is also smaranam. Parama karuna pahu dvijana nitai gaurachandra.
Parama karuna pahu dvijana nitai gaurachandra.
Shabhavatar Shar Shiramani Kevala Ananda Kanda
Sabhavata
Shara
Shiromani
Kevala
Kevala
Ananda
Anandakanda
Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudridha Vishasha Kauri
Bhajo
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 Bhai
Bhai
Chaitanya
Nitaya
Nitai
Nitai
Sudrita
Sudrida
Vishwasa
Vishwasakuri
Kori
Vishaya Chadiya Shera Se Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari
Vishaya
Nitaya
Chadiya
Kariya
Sera Se
Sira
Majiya
Simajiya
Mukhe
Mukhe
Bolo
Bolo
Hari
Hari Hari
Hari
Dekha Ore Bhai Tribhuvane Nai Emona Doyolo Data
Dekho
Dekho
Ore
Re
Bhai
Bhai
Tribhuvane
Tribhuvane
Nai
Nai
Emona
Emana
Doyala
Doyala
Data
Data
Pashu Pakhi Jure Pashana Vidare Shuni Jar Gunagata
Pashupaki
Pashupati
Jure
Jure
Pashana
Ashana
Vidare
Vidare
Shuni
Shuni
Jandra
Jana
Gunagata
Gunagata
Shangsharim Vajia Rohili Podia Shepode Nahilo Asha
Samsare
Samsare
Majia
Magia
Rohili
Rohili
Podia
Poria
Sepade
Separe
Nahilo
Ahilua
Asha
Sa
Apana Koromo Bhunjaye Shamana Kahaye Lochantasha
Apana
Apanakarama
Karana
Bhunjaya
Punjaya
Shamana
Savana
Kaho Yelo
Ahoye Lochana
Chanadasa
Dasa
Param Karuna Pahu Dvijana Nitai Gaurachandra
Parama Karuna
Na
Bahudvijana
Bahudvijana
Nitai
Nitai
Gaura
Gaura Chandra
Chandra
Parama Karuna Bahu Dvijana Nitai Gaurachandra
Parama
Parama Karuna
Karuna Bahudvijana
Bahudvijana
Nitai
Nitai
Gaura
Gaura Chandra
Chandra
Shabhavatar Shad Shiramani Kevala Ananda Kanda
Sabha Avatar
Sabhavata
Sara Shiromani
Rasimani
Kevalananda
Kevalananda Kanda
Kanda
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Ashtotara Sata Shishimar His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Shami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Ashtotara Sata Shishimar His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय
Jai
इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय
Jai
नाम आचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय
Jai
प्रेम से कह श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय
Jai
Jai
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरी गोवर्धन की जय
Jai
वृंदावन धाम की जय
Jai
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय
Jai
गंगा माई की जय
Jai
जमुना माई की जय
Jai
तुलसी देवी की जय
Jai
भक्ति देवी की जय
Jai
समवेता भक्त वृंद की जय
Jai
गौर प्रेम आनंदे
Hari Hari
Hari Hari
Bo
Bo
all glories to the assembled devotees
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
all glories to the assembled devotees
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
all glories to the assembled devotees
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna
all glory to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari
All glory to
Bo
Sri Sri Guru and Sri
Namo
Gauranga
Adaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirbhisheshunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine. Let's go back to the prayer just for a moment. Yeah. So Parama Karuna means the topmost mercy. Pahu Dvijan. Pahu means Prabhu. It's the way they say it sometimes in Bengali. Pahu is like Prabhu. These two lords, two lords, two people, two lords. Nitai, who are those two lords? Nitai Gaura Chandra. Shab, in Bengali, there's a funny thing that even when it's an S without a mark over it or a dot under it, still that they like to say with a SH. Just like, and this prayer is in Bengali. Just like most times, how do you say the word for sanctified food?
Oh, Prashadam, but actually there's nothing on the S.
Yeah, there's no dot or slash,
Prasad
but yeah, prashad. But usually, if we often say prashad because that's the Bengali pronunciation. Prashad. There's no dot or a slash, but that's prashad. Yeah. Anyway, so even though there's no dot or dot over the S, I mean slash over the S or dot under it, there's still shub. They still often. Or if you ever heard Srila Prabhupada talk about the six Goswamis,
Mhm.
ever heard six Goswamis? There's no SH, but because of the S, yeah, sounds that's Bengali pronunciation. Shab avatar, of all avatars, Shah, the cream, Shiromani. Shiromani means the crest. Money is a jewel, and Shir is the head. So the crown jewel of all the avatars. Why? Kevala Ananda Kanda, because he's doing something, delivering a message and a process of Krishna consciousness that's joyfully performed. Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai. Oh, worship with devotion, brothers and sisters. Who Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Sudridha Vishvash Kori, with Shudridha Vishvash Kori, with great determination and faith. Bishaya Chadiya, give up selfish activities. Se Rasema Jia, and become absorbed. There's two places where we have that same Majia. Majia means become absorbed in, and in this case, the taste of what? Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari, with your mouth chanting the holy names, Hari Hari. Dekha, Ore Bhai, just see, oh brothers, Tribhuvanenai. In the three worlds, you won't find anything like this. Nowhere in the three worlds, in this material world. Emo Doyala Data, and such mercy. What is that? Pashu? Pashu is animals, mammals more. Pashu. Paki is birds. Jure, chanting. Pashana, rocks. Vidare, they're melting. Shuni Jar Gunagata, just when they hear about these wonderful qualities. Sangsare Magia, again, here we have this Magia is there again. I'm absorbed in birth and death. Sepori no hila asha. I don't have any attraction for the Sankirtan movement. Apana korama bunja yashomana. I'm just being punished by yamaras, by past sinful activities that I don't have any attraction for. Krishna consciousness. Kohoye Lochandas. That's Lochandas is saying. Bring that. I want to chant briefly another prayer to Lord Chaitanya. Maybe you can find it there in the Krishna Kirtan songs. I don't know. But in 1960, either 68 or 69, Srila Prabhupada wrote letters, before the observation of Lord Chaitanya's birth ceremony, Gaur Purnima, to various devotees. And one devotee was the temple president in Montreal. His name at that time was Janardhan. And he gave him some instructions about how to observe Gaur Purnima. And included in those instructions, it's in a letter, you can read that letter, Janardhan, Montreal, 1968, I think it is, but could be 69. There he says, fasting till moonrise and only taking Ekadashi Prasad. He also says there's a song that it's said that Lord Nityananda Prabhu chanted in the glorification of Lord Chaitanya, and that can be chanted on Gaur Purnima. Of course, we also chant Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasha Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. How do you say that? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasha Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. But at least he said in this letter to chant it. And I don't know that anybody ever did chant that prayer. I never heard Srila Prabhupada chant that prayer. But it's a very famous prayer to Lord Chaitanya that they used to have on the radio in Bengal. And as Prabhupada mentioned in the letter, it's said that it was a prayer that was sung by Lord Nityananda. So it goes like this. It's very simple. And I'm just going to do the first two lines. That's what he mentions there in the letter. There's another couple lines, but I'm not going to do those. And everybody can follow these. It's very easy. I'll say, you say, okay?
Is it on KK songs or no?
Probably, yeah. The first words are, because you can search according to the first words.
Yeah.
Bhaja Gauranga. You say it. Bhaja Gauranga.
Bhaja Gauranga.
Yes. Then the next one is Kaho Gauranga. Kaho Gauranga. And then it is Bhaja Gauranga, Kaho Gauranga, Laho Gauranger Nam Re. See that?
Yeah.
So Bhaja Gauranga means worship with devotion. Serve Lord Chaitanya, Gauranga, Kaho Gauranga, chant, say Gauranga, Laho Gauranga, and Laho Gauranga means to take the name of Gauranga. Take it, please. Laho, take it. Take Gauranga's name. Yeah. And then next line. Je Jan, those people, Gauranga Bhaje, those who were worshiping or serving Lord Chaitanya, say hi, Amar Pran, they are my life. This is Lord Nityananda's song. Or at least that said that it's Lord Nityananda's song. And we sing it in the morning tune.
Mm.
So I'll say, you say, okay? Bhaja Gauranga,
Bhaja Gauranga,
Kaho Gauranga,
Kaho
Kaho
Gauranga,
Goranga,
Lahu Gaurangera,
Laho
Lahu
Gorangera,
Gaurangera,
Namre,
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 Je Jan,
Je
Jejan,
Jan,
Gauranga Bhaje,
Goranga
Gauranga
Bhaje,
Bhaji,
Hai,
Sehoy,
Sehoy,
Amar Pran Re.
Amar
Amar Pran
Pran Re.
Re.
So you know what it means? What do you remember what it means?
Actually, the definition is underneath the translation in
Yeah,
the on the.
talk about Kohar, those who worship Gauranga and indeed Mala. It doesn't say worship Gauranga, chant Gauranga, speak about Gauranga. Yeah, actually, it's a little not clear because the last part, Laho Gauranga Namre, Laho
Mm.
Gauranga, take the name that it's not mentioned in the translation. Anyway, Jay Jan and those people who are Gauranga Bhaji, who serve Lord Chaitanya, say hi, they're my life, and so on.
Mm.
Okay, so we'll just chant it for a few minutes. I just wanted to take the opportunity, just because we just had Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, and this is an unusual thing. Usually we chant. It's a nice opportunity to chant glorification of Lord Chaitanya, and we're speaking on Lord Chaitanya Charitamrita today. That's okay. Bhaj Gauranga Kaho Gauranga Laho Gaurangir Namre. You say.
Bhaja
Bhaja
Gauranga,
Goranga,
Kaho
Kaho
Gauranga,
Goranga,
Laho
Laho
Gauranga,
Gorangera Namare.
Namare.
Bhaj Gauranga, Kaha Gauranga, Lahu Gaurangir Namre.
Bhaja
Bhaja
Gauranga,
Goranga, Kaho
Kaho
Goranga,
Gauranga,
Laho
Laho
Gorangera
Gauranga,
Namare.
Namare.
Jan Gauranga Bhaje, She Hai Amar Pran Re.
Jai
Jejan
Gauranga Bhaje,
Gauranga
Se
Sehora Pranare.
Jan Gauranga Bhaje, She Hai Amar Pran Re.
Jai
Jejan Gauranga
Gauranga Bhaje,
Bhaje
Se
Sehora
Amar
Pranare.
Pranare.
Gauranga Kaho Gauranga Lahu Gaurangir Namre.
Bhaja Gauranga
Bhajagoranga Hakka
Gauranga
Goranga Laonga
Lauranga
Namare.
Namare.
Je Jan Gauranga Bhaje, She Hai Amar Pran Re.
Jai
Jejan Goranga
Gauranga
Bhaji
Se
Sehora Pranare.
Pranare.
Yes, thank you. See the remarks. Lord Nityananda Prabhu originally chanted the refrain of the song. Those are the refrain, those lines we chanted. So I think the other two, I'm not 100% sure, but the other two lines were added later. But that's the ones we chanted were Lord Nityananda's, and those are the ones that Prabhupada mentioned. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
We're discussing, discussing, and talking about Kahal Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, 4th chapter, 71st verse. And what is the title of the chapter? You know?
The confidential reason for the Lord Chaitanya's appearance.
Yes, yes. You also said that last time. Parikshit Prabhu. Good. You're up on it. You're on the ball. Okay. So, do we have any Bengali speakers on the call today on the Zoom? No?
No, Prabhu. Jit Mitra is actually at work. He's the only Bengali we have. Actually, Radhapad, but he's not here today. At work
Okay.
too. Yeah, we have two
That's
Bengalis at our temple.
it's especially pleasing to hear the authentic Bengali chanted with the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'll do the best I can, but it's
Hare Krishna.
who's this? Who's that?
No. Bhakta Shakti is here. He's Bengali.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can you read the Bengali for this Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhu?
Can you read Bengali quick? Prabhu? Yeah. Yeah.
কৃষ্ণ প্রেম ভাবিত যার চিত্তে ইন্দ্রিয় কায় কৃষ্ণ নিজ শক্তি রাধা ক্রিয়ার সহায়।
Thank you. Nice. See, nice
Yeah.
sounding. Very nice sounding. That's the authentic Bengali sound. Krishna Prema, love for Lord Krishna. And we're gonna read more than one verse today, so don't go away, please, Prabhu. Bhavita, steeped in jar, whose chitta, mind, indriya, senses, kai, body, Krishna, of Lord Krishna, Nija Shakti, his own energy, Radha, Srimati Radharani, Kridar, of pastimes, Shahai, companion. Translation: her mind, senses, and body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy, and she helps him in his pastimes. Purport: Srimati Radharani is as fully spiritual as Krishna. No one should consider her to be material. She is definitely not like the conditioned souls who have material bodies, gross and subtle, covered by material senses. She is all spiritual, and both her body and her mind are of the same spiritual embodiment. Because her body is spiritual, her senses are also spiritual. Thus, her body, mind, and senses fully shine in love of Krishna. She is the personified Hladini Shakti, the pleasure-giving energy of the Lord's internal potency, and therefore she is the only source of enjoyment for Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna cannot enjoy anything that is internally different from him. Therefore, Radha and Sri Krishna are identical. The Sandhini portion of Sri Krishna's internal potency has manifested the all-attractive form of Sri Krishna, and the same internal potency in the Hladini feature has presented Srimati Radharani, who is the attraction for the all-attractive. No one can match Srimati Radharani in the transcendental pastimes of Sri Krishna. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Sha Pandantikam Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Paramami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask for the blessings and permission of the devotees who may be senior by age and or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Looking at this verse, take a look at it. Just go up a little bit. Yeah. Her mind, senses, and body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy, and she helps him in his pastimes. So it's an interesting analogy we have, that her mind, body, and senses are steeped in love for Krishna. So what does steeped mean?
It's all encompassing and very, very deep.
Soaked.
Soaked. Yeah. Soaked. Yeah, I thought, usually a steep tea or something like that, as opposed to as a verb, as opposed to a steep hill. Soaked is good. Yeah. So that's what, according to the dictionary, steeped is to soak in a liquid, and at a temperature just under the boiling point. So that love of Krishna is very something, huh? Just under the boiling point. As for softening, bleaching, cleaning, or extracting an essence. So, okay, extracting the essence. Or to saturate with a subject thoroughly, with some strong or pervading influence. Those were the couple of definitions that I thought were applicable. So this is a really applicable, appropriate analogy given by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami for Srimati Radharani. This is the first time, I never noticed, maybe you've noticed before, but in this translation and purport, the H in her is also capitalized. Did you notice that? Even when it's in the middle of a sentence. I always was perceived that when they talk about Krishna and him in the middle of a sentence, the H is capitalized, but here also, I never realized before, and I'm just her is also it's capital H. That's interesting. So that's reinforcing the idea and the point. And the very important point is that she's on the same level as Lord Krishna, and that Lord Krishna, we know that he has multifarious energies. Parasya Shaktir Vivedaya Vishruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. His internal potency is divided into three, which we've talked about already in these verses leading up to this one. The Hladini Shakti, the Sandhini Shakti, and the Samvit potency. So, and among of those, the Sandhini potency is the Hladini potency personified is Srimati Radharani. So, as that being the case, as Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing here, she is not to be considered an ordinary person. We know in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 9th verse, you might know this verse. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvata Chaktva deham punar janma naiti mam iti sarjuna. Someone who can really understand the true nature of Lord Krishna's birth and his activities, truly understand them. When leaving the body, they don't have to take birth again in this world of birth and death. So that's a big deal. It's a big deal. And one of the most common misunderstandings about the activities of Krishna is a prevalent misconception that somehow the activities of Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani are on the material plane. There's something like, the activities, not only Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani, but also Lord Krishna and the gopis. They're on the level of young boy and young girl in the material world attraction. One is that is lust, and the attraction, involvement of Srimati Radharani and the gopis for Lord Krishna is on the platform of pure love. The difference is like iron and gold. But people, because we're in so much steeped in lust, our material conceptions, as opposed to steeped in love of Krishna, because that's our experience in the material world. Male forms and female forms get together for mutual lusty activities. Therefore, people tend to project that idea on the transcendental loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna, which is a big offense. Even to the point where sometimes, sometimes we invite dancers on festival days to temples. And it's often the case that prior to the dance, they give a little summary of what the dance represents. Have you ever seen that? Does that happen? Yeah. And it's not unusual. I've seen it happen more than once, even in Hare Krishna temples. When the dancer is invited and they talk about Radha and Krishna, they're emulating some kind of activities in their dance. They compare Radha and Krishna to ordinary boys and girls. Very common. So this should be avoided very much. So it's an offense. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada avoided discussing these pastimes of Radha and Krishna with in public discussions. Even in Madras, he was staying at the house of a life member who was considered himself a devotee of Radha and Krishna. And this man and his wife, devotees of some sort, requested Srila Prabhupada to please speak on Rasa Lila. And Srila Prabhupada declined. And he requested again and again. Bar, again and again he requested. And Prabhupada repeatedly declined. And so the person said, but you're advanced and we can appreciate it very much. And Prabhupada said, no, I'm not so advanced. You may be advanced to hear, but I'm not advanced to speak, he said. It was very interesting. So we're in the section of Chaitanya Charitamrita where the activities which is a very advanced section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, describing the confidential reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance as Krishna in the color and the mood of Srimati Radharani, as Radha Krishna combined. So this is a very elevated subject matter, and sometimes it's not easy to understand. If we actually understand, then we're going back to Godhead. but because we're not at such a high level, sometimes the best strategy is just to hear about it, and you can consider it. And at some point, when in our spiritual life we may become a little more advanced, then we may be able to understand it very clearly. But when Srila Prabhupada would often visit and hear from his spiritual master, he said because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's vocabulary and teachings were so elevated, he said, sometimes I would understand and sometimes I wouldn't understand, but I kept on hearing because he knew that the sound vibration is transcendental. And because of that, his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when the temple president recommended Srila Prabhupada, at that time known as Abhay Charan, for initiation, he said, yes, I will initiate him. And because he likes to hear, he didn't go away. And he gave him the name Abhay Charanaravinda Das. Yeah. So we'll try to do the same thing here. And you know, when Srila Prabhupada did the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he didn't always do one verse, one class. Sometimes he did, but not always. Sometimes if you hear the early classes on Chaitanya Charitamrita, which were in 1966, Srila Prabhupada often read many verses and discussed many verses along the way. So I thought, since this is such an elevated subject, and I won't have a lot of insight in all the details, that it would be good just to hear about it and hear what Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has to say. And if there's questions, comments, or other things to point out, observations along the way, please do so. We'd like to do that. And I'm going to interject a few times because there's a few purports here, but mostly it's verses, verses. So if that's okay, we'll continue that way. Any points or observations yet now at this point? No. Okay. Next one. And where's Bhakti Shakti? Did he run away? Brett? No. It looks like they're doing. Yeah, we're in the next verse. Next verse. Where's Bhakti Shakti?
Okay.
Next verse.
All right. Shakti Prabhuji.
Oh, this is Sanskrit. I'm sorry. And then, yeah. You can chant if you like. Yeah.
Anand. Ananda Chitmay Rasa Pratibhavi Tavi Istabirja Eva Nijarupa Taya Kalavi Goloko Eva Nivasatta Kilatma Bhuta Govindam Adi Purusang Tamahang Bhajami.
Thank you. Translation. Let's look at the translation here. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who resides in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure, and who embodies the ecstatic potency, Hladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form, and who are imbued and permeated, you could say steeped, with ever blissful spiritual rasa. Purport. This text is from the Brahma Samhita 537. This is very interesting because where did this Brahma Samhita come from? South India, right? Lord Chaitanya brought it to his devotees traveling after his tour of South India. So it's been integrated into the teachings quite quickly. Lord Chaitanya's. So this particular verse of the Brahma Samhita, it has a gigantic long purport, the longest purport of the whole Brahma Samhita, the purport by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So if we have time, I'm going to go back and read some of this, but let's continue here, so we get through some of these verses. Next, Bhakti Shakti. Come on, Bhakti Shakti.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, he's right here. 1 second.
Don't run away.
Yeah.
It's too small. Hold on. Go ahead.
কৃষ্ণেরে করায় জৈসে রস আস্বাদন ক্রিয়ার সহায় জৈসে শুনো বিবরণ
Thank you. Now, please listen to how Lord Krishna's consorts help him taste rasa and how they help in his pastimes. Next, yeah.
What did you say?
ইয়া কৃষ্ণকান্তগণ দেখি ত্রিবিধ প্রকার এক লক্ষ্মীগণ পুরে মহিষীগণ আর ব্রজাঙ্গনা রূপ আর কান্তাগণ সার শ্রী রাধিকা হইতে কান্তাগণের বিস্তার
Up a little bit, yeah. The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are three kinds: the goddesses of fortune, the queens, and the milkmaids of Vraja, who are the foremost of all. These consorts all proceed from Radhika.
অবতারী কৃষ্ণ জৈসে করে অবতার অংশিনী রাধা হইতে তিন গণের বিস্তার
Just as the fountainhead, Lord Krishna, is the cause of all incarnations, so Shri Radha is the cause of all these consorts.
ইয়া বৈভবগণ যেন তার অঙ্গ বিভূতি বিম্বপতি বিম্ব রূপ মহিষীর ততি
The goddesses of fortune are all our partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika. And the queens are reflections of her image.
লক্ষ্মীগণ তার বৈভব বিলাস সংস্বরূপ মহিষীগণ বৈভব প্রকাশ স্বরূপ
The goddesses of fortune are her plenary portions, and they display the forms of Vaibhava Bilas. The queens are of the nature of her Vaibhava Prakash. So these are very interesting because Lord Krishna has these similar kinds of expansions, Vaibhava Prakash, Vaibhava Vilas, and so Srimati Radharani also. That's explained in Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatana Goswami. And there's different kinds of avatars and expansions. Next.
আকার স্বভাব ভেদে ব্রজদেবীগণ কায়ুর গুহা রূপ তার রসের কারণ
The Braja Devis have diverse bodily features. They are her expansions and are the instruments for expanding ras. You know any kind of expansions of Krishna? Yeah, is that a question, Mother Anasuya?
Yeah, Prabhu, I was actually uh, listening to this Bhakti Shakti Prabhu, I think, that when he pronounced the word Lakshmi in Bengali, it was very different.
Yeah, that's Bengali. Lucky, they say. They don't say.
Aha!
So there's
That's
very
the
lucky.
first time I've ever heard that, actually.
That's, many of our prayers and songs are in Bengali. Some are in
Yeah.
Sanskrit, but many are in Bengali. And it's a different, it's a little different. You can say, of course, you can say Bengali with a Sanskrit accent too. But straightforward Bengali is lucky. Luck. You hold the key. Like I was listening to the recording of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita yesterday. Brihad Bhagavatamrita by a devotee. And so he was talking about, in the reading, he was saying, King Parikit. I think I told you this before, King Parikit. So it's really not Parikit, but Bengali say Parikit. but because we don't know that, so we kind of make it, break it. Well, that's the Bengali, like lucky, lucky. Okay, Prabhu.
আকার স্বভাব
Oops,
ওকে
he's already said that.
ওকে বহু কান্তা বিনা নহে রসের উল্লাস লীলার সহায় লাগি বহুত প্রকাশ
Without many consorts, there is not such exaltation in Ras. Therefore, there are many manifestations of Srimati Radharani to assist in the Lord's pastimes.
ওকে তার মধ্যে ব্রজে নানা ভাবরস বেদে কৃষ্ণকে করায় রাসাদিক লীলা সাদি
Among them are various groups of consorts in Braj who have varieties of sentiments and mellows. They help Lord Krishna taste all the sweetness of the Ras dance and other pastimes. Purport. As already explained, Krishna and Radha are one in two. They are identical. Krishna expands himself in multi-incarnations and plenary portions like the Purushas. Similarly, Srimati Radharani expands herself in multi-forms as the goddesses of fortune, the queens, and the damsels of Braja. Such expansions from Srimati Radharani are all her plenary portions. The word plenary means the same. All these womanly forms of Krishna are expansions corresponding to his plenary expansions of Vishnu forms. These expansions have been compared to reflected forms of the original form. There is no difference between the original form and the reflected forms. The female reflections of Krishna's pleasure potency are as good as Krishna himself. The plenary expansions of Krishna's personality are called Vaibhava Vilas and Vaibhava Prakash, and Radha's expansions are similarly described. The goddess of fortune are her Vaibhava Vilas forms, and the queens are her Vaibhava Prakash forms. The personal associates of Radharani, the damsels of Vraja, are her direct expansions of her body. As expansions of her personal form and transcendental position, they are agents of different reciprocations of love in the pastimes of Lord Krishna under the supreme direction of Srimati Radharani. In the transcendental realm, enjoyment is fully relished in variety. The exuberance of transcendental mellows is increased by the association of a large number of personalities similar to Radharani, who are known as gopis or shakis. The variety of innumerable mistresses is a source of relish for Sri Krishna. And therefore, these expansions from Srimati Radharani are necessary for enhancing the pleasure potency of Sri Krishna. Their transcendental exchanges of love are the super excellent affairs of the pastimes in Vrindavan. By these expansions of Srimati Radharani's personal body, she helps Lord Krishna taste the rasa dance and other similar activities. Srimati Radharani, being the central petal of the Ras Lila flower, is also known by the names found in the following verses.
ওকে গোবিন্দ নন্দিনী রাধা গোবিন্দ মোহিনী গোবিন্দ সর্বস্ব সর্বকান্তা শিরোমণি।
Yeah. Govinda Nandani Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvashva, Sarva Kanta Shiromani. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda, Govinda Mohini. She is the be-all and end-all of Govinda, and the crest jewel of all his consorts.
দেবী কৃষ্ণময়ী প্রক্তা রাধিকা পরদেবতা সর্বলক্ষ্মীময়ী সর্বকান্তি সন্মোহিনী পরা।
Thank you. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is a direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. Purport. This text is from the Brihad Gotamiya Tantra.
দেবী কহি দৈত্যমনা পরমা সুন্দরী কিংবা কৃষ্ণ পূজা ক্রিয়ার বসতি নগরী।
Devi means resplendent and most beautiful, or else it means the lovely abode of the worship and love sports of Lord Krishna. So now you know what Devi means. Sometimes husbands call their wives Devi. Have you ever seen that before? Resplendent and most beautiful, probably, but also the lovely abode of worship of love sports of Lord Krishna. Not probably. That probably doesn't apply. Okay.
কৃষ্ণময়ী কৃষ্ণ যার ভিতরে বাহিরে যাহা যাহা নেত্র পড়ে তাহা কৃষ্ণ স্ফুরে।
Krishna Mayi means one who's within and without our Lord Krishna. She sees Krishna wherever she casts her glance. She's steeped in Krishna. Yeah, love of Krishna.
কিংবা প্রেমরসময় কৃষ্ণের স্বরূপ তার শক্তি তার সহ হয় একরূপ।
Or Krishna Mayi means that she is identical with Lord Krishna, for she embodies the mellows of love. The energy of Lord Krishna is identical with him. Purport. Krishna Mayi has two different imports. First, a person who always thinks of Krishna both within and without, and who always remembers only Krishna wherever he goes or wherever he sees, is called Krishna Mayi. Also, since Krishna's personality is full of love, his loving potency, Radharani, being non-different from him, is called Krishna Mayi. So, I have a question here. How do you think of Krishna? It says someone who thinks of Krishna within and without is called Krishna Mayi. So I can understand how you think of Krishna within. How do you think of Krishna without?
Everything that a person sees, they would say it is from Krishna. Therefore, whatever they see, they remember Krishna all the time.
Okay, so you're saying that when people, such a person views other things, those things are reminding them of Krishna, and then therefore they think of Krishna.
Yeah, that's what's coming to me.
Okay, anybody else? I don't know. I'm just asking.
I had that same question too, Prabhu, when you were reading it just now.
Yeah. So Krishna Mayi. Okay. Akim va prema rasmaya Krishna Swarup, Krishna Mayi. So What are some of the names of Srimati Radharani that we have come across in the last several verses?
One is Govinda Mohini.
Yes, Govinda Mohini. Anybody else? Nobody? What about Govinda Nandini? Wasn't that
That's what
one?
I was trying to think of just now. It's
Govinda
Govinda
Nandini.
something. Yes.
This, yeah. Govinda Nandini. Then there was a Govinda Sarvashva, something like that. Krishna is Govinda.
Sarvashva, yes.
And then there was one more at the
Something with
end.
Kanta.
Sarvakanta Shiromani.
Yeah.
There, yeah. Very good, Nitya Gopal. And then this one here, Krishna Mai. Okay. So let's stop it here. And if there's any reflections or observations, you know, we with a point of being just hearing about this very elevated subject matter is very important. And even though we may not understand all the details, but a couple of observations I have is that, well, I'll let you give your observations first. Let's hear. Any observations or reflections or questions, comments?
Prabhu, I have a question, and that was, way earlier in the topic. I mean, in the lecture, you were mentioning how there was this person that asked your Prabhupada to speak on Rasa Leela, and they bugged him quite a bit, and he said that he's not qualified to speak, even though the other person might be qualified to hear. And if Shri Prabhupada was not speaking or did not speak much about the Rasa Leela because it's so high level. But we hear that so much nowadays.
What do you mean you hear that?
different-
What does that mean you hear that so much nowadays? What do you mean?
Speakers speaking on Rasa Leela, when they do the 7-day Bhagavad Sapta, they speak on Rasa Leela. And I'm just thinking, as we were taught, to follow in the footsteps of the acharyas. So if Shri Prabhupada did not speak on that, how is it that others are doing it? Like, I'm just trying to understand, is that the right thing or the wrong thing, or,
One should be very, very cautious about doing that. And it's not just Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said that Lord Chaitanya, even though he's Krishna himself in the form and the color and mood of Radharani, he also never talked about the Rasa Leela publicly. He only spoke to it about it with his intimate associates like Sarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy. So one should be very, very, very careful about that. Of course, Srila Prabhupada wrote in about Krishna's pastimes, including the rasa dance in the Krishna book. Although even during his presence, some devotees became carried away by wanting to read about the Krishna's pastimes with the gopis and give up Bhagavad Gita. They were called the Gopi Bhava Club, and Prabhupada was very disturbed about that. So, yeah, the being grounded in the basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness is very important, and that philosophy, begins with trying to understand and appreciate that we're not this body, and that we are subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. This human form of life is the opportunity we have to make progress in spiritual life by chanting the holy names. And of course, the Hare in the Hare Krishna mantra is referring to Srimati Radharani. And if you look at the mantra, Maha Mantra, what is the meaning of that Maha Mantra?
Please engage me in devotional service to you.
Yeah, so where is the devotional service? Where is it in the mantra?
Radharani, the devotional service is Radharani.
Oh Krishna, oh energy of the Lord, please engage me in your service. Yeah, so we're so another aspect of that is that the approach to Radharani and Krishna is the approach or the purpose of doing that is service. You follow? The service is embodied in one's approach to Radha and Krishna. That's where, just like you said, Parikshit, come on. There's a certain meaning to that, right? Yeah, what does that mean? What are you doing, right? Parikshit. So it's that meaning is conveyed not in the word Parikshit necessarily, but in the way you're addressing. So in the similarly, the Radharani, Srimati Radharani, her name Hare, vocative means you're addressing her, personally addressing, and the way you address her is with the mood of the devotion. So both things, you follow? Both things. Hare Krishna. That's it. Yeah. So Krishna Mai. Yeah. And so Srila Prabhupada would very often quote the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which, there's the verse, I think you probably know, that Ramya Kvachit. You know this one? Ramya Kvachit. I have it written here somewhere. I haven't memorized. I'm supposed to memorize it. I can't find it here. Anyway. Here it is. Ramya Kvachit Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. Anybody know that one? That's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. There's a description by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur of the essence of Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. So there he mentions about how Srimad Bhagavatam is the Amalam Purana, Lord Chaitanya's, and then this is the last part, Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. If you search for it in the Veda base, you'll find Prabhupada quotes it quite often, very often. And what it means is the philosophy of there's no higher worship of Krishna than the worship of the Vrajavadhu, the gopis of Vrindavan, headed by Srimati Radharani. So that's part of what we're saying. Another point here is that the varieties of pleasure that Lord Krishna is experiencing, he arranges for experiencing in the transcendental world is mind-boggling. He has all these hundreds. They say in that verse, Chintamani Prakara Shadmashu Kalpariksha Lakshaviteshu Lakshmi, or if you're Bengali, Lakki, Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevyamanam Govinda. And in the purport, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that these Lakshmis are actually, those are the gopis. So there's hundreds and thousands of gopis, hundreds and thousands of these gopis who are engaged always in doing things for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, in all different varieties of ways. And that purport that we don't have time to read today, but there's description of all these different ways that those gopis, Lakshmi gopis, are engaged in the service of Krishna. There's different arts that they do regularly in their activities in service. Other comments, questions?
There's one that I'm kind of, I got back to text 77 on my cell phone. I'm reading. The goddesses of fortune are partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. And that just is over my head as well. Reflections of her image. The queens of Dwarka, that is.
Yeah.
They're reflections of her image. I don't know whether you can throw some more light on that or just leave it as it is.
I cannot throw more light on that. Can't.
Okay.
So reflections of reflections, yeah.
I heard something, I forgot this, what is it? Jai Gosinda. He said specifically of the two main gopis, Lalita and Vishaka. So
Yeah.
they were born from the hands of Srimati Radharani. So that's one thing I heard.
Where did you hear that?
In a lecture that he gave here in the Harrisburg area. He came to give a lecture.
What was that?
Jai Gosinda, former president of Baltimore. And
Here
I've
we see
also-
that the gopis are, we read here that the gopis are expansions of Srimati Radharani's body. We read that.
Yeah.
So that would be somehow consistent at least. apparently.
Yeah, it was more specific. They said the gopis are from his hair, from her hair.
I don't know why it would be
I
important
don't
to quote.
know.
According to quote from that, find where that quote's from. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not saying no,
sometimes.
but usually in Vaishnav discussions, we like to cite where we're getting stuff from, and
Yes.
that puts things on a really solid foundation.
Hmm.
Just like they asked me to get when I was in Vrindavan this last month. They asked me to give class on Narottam Das Thakur's appearance day. Did I tell you this? Did I say this?
No.
No. Anyway, so I thought, well, okay, there's a book that was written by one of my god sisters about
Mother
I see
Narottam.
one
Sitala,
now.
I have the
Mother
book.
Shitala. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's reading the book now.
Well, yeah, so I read the book in preparation for the class. I had read it before, but I thought, well, and then I thought, I'm not really comfortable speaking on the topics in the book because, well, and she cites where she got much of the information from the Bhakti Ratnakara and other the Prema Vivarta and things. But I really couldn't, for example, the first discussion is about Lord Chaitanya doing a Sankirtan in Bangladesh near the Padma River where Narottam Das Thakur appeared and chanting Narottam all of a sudden during the Kirtan. You remember this? Chanting Narottam. And then who's that? People ask him, who's Narottam? And, and then he leaves Prema in the river, right? And later, Narottam goes there and bathes and he gets that Prema. So, okay. How am I explaining that? How do I explain that? I have no idea how to explain that. And usually when you say that there's love of God or that love of God is a person like Ladini Shakti, right? Ladini Shakti Srimati Radharani. That's all personal. So exactly how that happened, that if he left, I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I don't know how, I have no idea how that actually happened. I don't know. I have no idea. It's because usually you think of the transcendental things like that as persons. So the person, somehow. And another thing is because Srila Prabhupada never gave us that. He never gave us that information. So to be very conservative so I asked Vaisheshik Prabhu about this and I asked him what he thought and he said, well, when he's in situations like that, he simply tries to stick with what Srila Prabhupada says because he can really strongly rely on that. He knows that for sure. Whereas other things, they might be, but I don't have, there's not the depth and the conviction of understanding of those things. So it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. And though I'm not saying that it's not true or correct or anything, but I don't have the firm conviction that I would in describing and repeating things that I've heard directly from Srila Prabhupada and or the previous acharyas. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's called playing safe and staying with your spiritual master's comments. That's and that's the best thing.
That's the
Mhm. Because
and like I was sharing, like I was asking earlier, Prabhu, because I've noticed that in ISKCON, because Prabhupada never did it, many Prabhupada disciples that I know, and sannyasis and non-sannyasis, they just follow what Prabhupada did and did not do. Like there's no two ways about it. But I've also noticed that within the second generation population, it becomes a fad kind of a thing, or lack of a better word, that they feel that they have learned it, they know it, and they speak it with such conviction. And sometimes it used to puzzle me because I've never heard, not even from my own spiritual master. He only spoke on Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and mostly Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad, and very little on Chaitanya Charitamrita. And but it concerns me sometimes when I see the second generation population devotees speak so much about like they've mastered it, but I don't, but that mood, not mood, that's not the right word, that standard or the example, I don't, the other proper disciples don't do it because Prabhupada didn't do it. So I'm just concerned about that, Prabhu. You know what I mean? Like following the footsteps of the acharyas, as we always speak about.
Yes, it should be. We have to be very cautious. That'll be, discretion is the better part of valor. Discretion is the better part of valor. So trying to understand and imbibe what Srila Prabhupada, I mean, now I'm an old guy later in my years, and throughout time, I might have done anything, so many things I might have done, but now I at least at the latter part of life, I want to focus more on what, try to really, truly focus on how Srila Prabhupada did things. At the, in the end of the Adi Lila, you're in Adi Lila, and there's 17 chapters of Adi Lila. At the end of Adi Lila, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he does a summary of the 17 chapters, and brief summary of the 17 chapters. And the reason he does it, he says, is because that's what Srila Vyasadeva did at the end in the 12th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's not that Ved Vyas said, "Oh, you do it, you do it, you do," but he's following the example, not just the direction, but the example of the previous predecessor Acharya, Ved Vyas in this case. So not only following the direct instructions, but also following the example of Srila Prabhupada is a really essential point of in the Hare Krishna movement. And hopefully we won't get too far away from that. And that's a little careful. We have to be very sensitive to that. I mean, we just had, I'm going to talk a little bit. I know it's 9:15, and you might have to go. That's okay. And some people, but we just had Gaur Purnima, right? Gaur Purnima, and when I joined the temple, 1971 ISKCON, Henry Street, the Gaur Purnima feast was a fabulous feast with all kinds of grain, samosas, everything. You know that? So that went on. I didn't know. I just says I'm a Hare Krishna. That's the way people did it. Okay. So then in 1975, the first time I went to India, we had fasting, of course, fasting all day, and then the time for the moonrise came, and there was the prasadam. And what was there for prasadam in Mayapur? It's a little bit of fried potato. That's it. Not this much fried potato and bale juice. And I'm thinking, wow, what? Yes. So I was shocked. And I used to be working in the kitchen at that time, so I thought, wow, what is going on? So then, down the road, I had access to Srila Prabhupada's letters. And in Srila Prabhupada's letters, he very clearly says that they're fasting until moonrise and then taking prasadam like Ekadashi, he says. That's what he says. And there's one time when same person I mentioned before, Janardhan, he asked Srila Prabhupada, well, when the Gaur Purnima is on a weekday, and there's a feast, and Prabhupada said feasting next day after, not on the actual Gaur Purnima, but just very little or nothing. He said very little or nothing, and then feasting next day. So Janardhan, I said, well, people aren't going to come back the next day, so how about we have a big feast for Lord Chaitanya on the Sunday? So Srila Prabhupada responded, well, you can have feasting the next day or Sunday, or both, he said. Next day or Sunday. Okay. So then the devotees interpreted that saying, oh, you can have Sunday feast on Gaur Purnima. And it went on for years. Why would you want to do that? Well, God, let's take prasadam, man. Let's have good big prasadam. So anyway, and it still goes on to this day. And so once you get something going on in a particular direction, devotees doing a particular thing in a certain way, to try to come back to sometimes if it's not the way Srila Prabhupada wanted, to come back to what Srila Prabhupada wanted, it is tough. It's very tough. And some people will say, well, wait a minute, I mean, that's just a little kind of thing, and even GBC men have told me that that's niyamagraha. Niyamagraha?
Hmm.
Niyamagraha means that you're following the rules and regulations just for the without knowing the purpose behind them. That's one understanding of niyamagraha. So, but niyamagraha, but we know the purpose. What is the purpose behind fasting on Gaur Purnima? The purpose on fasting or having very little, even if it's very little Ekadashi, it's to save time, to do more kirtan and more study and reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita, so you don't have to cook all those things and serve out all those things and clean up all those things. That's a lot of work. So that's the purpose behind it. But so anyway, to reduce the physical needs, so that was more time for hearing and chanting. So it is, in my view, it is niyamagraha, but it's niyamagraha meaning you're not following the rules, you're not following the regulation, not following it. So anyway,
Hmm. I think
that's a big deal. So,
it
but
actually raises two questions. One, I know, looking at the time too, so maybe, well, I'll still ask them anyway. Um, so that means that what you saw in my poll, Go Panim, and at the end there was very little. You've explained that it if you have less preparation, you have more time for reading and so on. Preparation, that is prashadam. Mm. So then there was all right then, because you're saying you were surprised, but now there's a reason
it was
that
always
you
that
have
way. It
just
was
given.
always that way. But what my contention is that somewhere in the middle, some devotees, temple presidents or whoever, my god brothers, they wanted to. It could be they wanted to have a nice prashadam, big prashadam, and so they kind of interpreted it in a different way, which was not the what Prabhupada wanted. And I was in charge of the kitchen, so it happened more a little bit later that, you know, that on Lord Nrsinga's appearance day, it was also that also they observe Ekadashi till if it's an Ekadashi feast, and then so the temple president, it wasn't really set in stone in my mind, but then the temple president came back and we didn't have any vegetables, so we made some grain prashadam for Nrsingadev, and he came and he threw the prashadam away, and it was a big deal. And I said, "What do you think this is? Mayor Beam's appearance day?" Anyway, so I mean that might have been extreme, but
Yeah.
to really understand how it is, and and then there can be some. I mean, for the followers of ISKCON, the followers of Srila Prabhupada, that's one thing. And then it's not that for guests who are not very strict followers, no, they can have whatever they have prasadam. Yeah, they can have any kind of prasadam. But so what happened, and this is not to criticize, but we went to the Potomac Temple for the grand opening on Gaur Purnima, and there was big prashadam for with gulab jamans and rice and dal and everything, and so that was served out at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I saw in the line there are many initiated devotees in the line, and I was surprised, because first of all, aren't we supposed to fast until moonrise? And second of all, what about the Ekadashi? But is that have we lost? We've lost what the instruction is, or you know, it's not that, like when you get initiated, there's certain rules and regulations you agree to. Okay. And one of them isn't I'll fast till moonrise on Gaur Purnima. That's not one of the things you agree to when you get initiated, right? Actually, when I was in India, there was Vaisheshik Prabhu gave initiation to some disciples. That was very nice in Vrindakun. So anyway, some of the disciples, he asked, "What are the rules and regulations?" And the first two of them said, "And I won't eat any onions and garlic." They said, and he said, "No, that's not one. Not that you don't. That's a recommendation, but it's not one of your vows. So he, okay, so he said, and I asked him afterwards, he said, well, if by chance they do, sometimes they might have, traveling or something, they might eat something with some garlic in it. They haven't offended, there's, okay. Of course it's recommended. Of course it's recommended. So, and the serious disciple wants to follow, pretty much what the guru recommends anyway. But it's not like they're not all those things are not on the same level. If that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. And by the way, before we even got to this point, I made a comment about following the spiritual master strictly. I didn't mean it in a negative way, so if you took it negative, let me
Yeah,
apologize.
I didn't take
before
it
we
that way.
go.
I didn't take it that way.
Okay. Then my last question is about the when you said Srila Prabhupada said, well, if it's on a weekday, then they can have the feast the next day. Or they asked about Sunday and says, well, or Sunday or both. So my question is, if they wait, say, Sunday, and maybe it's 3 days later because in the middle of a week, and they had one on Thursday, and then feast on Thursday, and they have feast on Sunday, would that Sunday also be Kaddishi feast?
No, it would be.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's all.
Yeah. So, yeah. Just so then if you look at, the different areas of evidence. So if you look at the first Gaur Purnima, which was it's in that book, you'll find Narottam Das Thakur. There that most of the devotees they stayed up all night chanting the holy name, and then they went to Mangalarti. Then the next day they took prasadam. And when Srila Prabhupada commented about the Gaur Purnima, he said it's not. He said it's not. He said taking Ekadashi, he said once, is not required in a conversation with Harisari. But if you see what Harisari's interpretation, he was there. He said what Prabhupada meant was it's not required to take prasadam at all. You can fast completely also. That's what his understanding of it. So that's also what could be taken, like that.
Hare
Mother Gita,
Krishna.
Mother
Yeah,
Gita
Mother
has her
Gita.
hand up.
Please
Hare
unmute yourself.
Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble
Mine.
obeisances or best to
Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada. A very thought-provoking class. Thank you so much. I had a question. Did Srila Prabhupada say that on Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance day also we should eat only Ekadashi Prasadam after sunset?
I don't know. Uh, That's a good question. I know that. So when I investigated this, I called up all the temples, the main temple, in Mayapur, in Vrindavan, and then local temples, and they all agreed that it was a Ekadashi, but they couldn't give me any reference from Srila Prabhupada that it should be an Ekadashi feast. But I know that's the standard they do in Mayapur and other important temples in ISKCON. And then there's a question because Srila Prabhupada commented only one time about Lord Ram's appearance day, about whether it's an Ekadashi feast, and the GBC, they have a ministry of I forget what Shastric Advisory Council, that's what they call it.
The
And so they asked
Sabha,
them,
the Sabha, Shastric Advisory Board, something council.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they asked them to do research on it, and that's published on dandavas.com. So they said no, it doesn't have to be, and it's not an Ekadashi necessarily. Although if you read what they said in detail, it's it's some pretty heavy statements about, like, if you take grains on Ramchandra's appearance day, you go to hell and stuff like that. But anyway, you take the whole thing together. They said it was not required on that day. Of course, in any thing you can be, if there's a question, one can always be more strict. That's always a possibility. But so anyway, that's a long answer to your question. The answer is I don't know that Srila Prabhupada recommended that on Lord Nrsimha's appearance day. but it's done by different temples, important temples. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
And there's a difference between the those who are seriously following, just anybody and a guest who comes to the temple, where like for Gaur Purnima, where often temples do Chappan Bhog or make 108 preparations for the Lord, and they're not all Ekadashi, so you got to serve those out. We got to make sure that they gets distributed, or you can save them for the next day, or you can distribute to the people who may not be as strict followers, and that's okay. That's all right. It's prasadam. It's still transcendental. Yeah. No problem.
Thank you very much for this class. We had a long discussion after that to put things in perspective. I definitely support the whole idea of the devotees who are Srila Prabhupada's disciples being more strict about what Srila Prabhupada said to do and not to do, because there's always the fear of Maya stepping in and changing things over time later on. People say, oh, this is accepted. That's it. Next thing you know, we're doing something completely different from what Srila Prabhupada said. So the statements that you make, what Srila Prabhupada said to do and not to do, and I know Bhagavad Prabhu is also like that in terms of his thinking. Those are very important. Those are very important so that we maintain what the spiritual master, Jagat Guru, said to do. After all, he's the one that's given us permission to chant only 16 rounds and not 64 rounds and still go back to Godhead. So who are we to kind of do things differently from what he said to do? That's the way I'm thinking. Thank you very much for spending so much time with us too. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Panchakalpatrubhyascha vipasindhivya chaitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank
you,
you, Prabhu
everybody.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.